Welcome to the On the Rise podcast, where we talk about time freedom, passive investing through real estate, finance, mindset, and how to integrate your faith into your work. Let's dive in. Quick disclaimer as always, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney or a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you or anyone else what to do. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are provided for education and informational purposes only and are not necessarily the views of my employer. Welcome to the On the Rise podcast. My name is Nick Stromwall. I am the host of the On the Rise Faith-Driven Leaders series. Got an awesome guest with me here today, Bill Haley. Bill, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Nick. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, I'm going to read your bio, and then I'm going to let you kind of fill in the gaps. So Bill combines education and sales in every facet of his career to enrich the lives of people he meets. As a real estate professional and Phoenix native, Bill is the agent who cultivates lifelong relationships of high integrity and great value for his clients, whether they're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Bill's superpower is balancing a real estate business and shepherding his wonderful family. Bill's greatest success in sales was when he convinced his wife, Maureen, to say, I do. Bill and Maureen have been blessed with 10 children. The Haley children range from a 27-year-old who will be married to a 6-year-old going into first grade. His family are parishioners at St. Thomas the Apostle in Phoenix. Bill, awesome bio. Tell us more.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, yeah. So Phoenix native. I met my wife in 8th grade, and at a youth group. We always knew we wanted to have a big family. I went into education, so that's kind of almost like a vow of poverty for a married man, you know. And we always struggled, but we were open to following God's will and have as many kids as He wanted to bless us with, and to be fruitful and multiply, right? And He's certainly given us a quiver full, which we're extremely grateful for. Couldn't be more grateful for this adventure. At a certain point in that education career, I became a headmaster of a school, and so I taught 3rd grade, 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade, and then was dean of students, dean of academics, assistant headmaster, and a headmaster. And at a certain point in that time, as headmaster, there was a bunch of politics going on at the school, and I ended up losing. I got a demotion kind of overnight. I lost a third of my income right about the time my wife was pregnant with our 9th child. So that was a huge punch in the gut, and just getting through that. I think one of the things that it helped me the most through prayer and just kind of suffering really is, when I was headmaster, I used to say things like, I was made for this job. And I really wasn't made for any job. I was made to be married to this wonderful woman and have these children and raise a family. I was made to follow God. I'm His beloved son. That's who I am more. And what I do is meant to be in service to Him and leave the world in a better place than I found it. But that's not who I am at my core. Yeah. And it took kind of the punch in the face of the big demotion to really get that. I'm a kind of thick-headed Irishman. It takes me a bit to learn some lessons, and so that was probably the biggest lesson I learned at that time.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Well, you shared a lot there, from being in education to helping lead at the school, to kind of just slightly dropping in there 10 children. What's it like being a family of 12? Walk us through. I don't think a lot of people have probably experienced that before. What is it like?
Well, it's amazing. So let me just go to kind of the most recent amazing event. We had a wedding. Our oldest daughter got married in December, and then we had another daughter get married in April. And I get to be the one to walk them down the aisle and to hand them on to their new husband, newly formed marriage that God is about to bind them together. And to see that and to see the little ones participating in, I mean, the wedding photos of everybody, everyone's dressed to the nines and they're at their best. And it's like a foretaste of heaven. And at a certain point, it's like each one of them is this amazing, instantiation, this love of my wife and I that has never existed before and will never exist again. And I get to play the role, this very, very special role of being dad to each one of them. And it's such an honor and a blessing. And it's like, I did not know my heart, that God could make my heart. It's like stretching. It's like he's in there and he's just pushing it open and making my heart grow and grow. It's not easy. It's certainly a lot of work. Parenting, of course, is not for the faint of heart. But when you get those moments of seeing, like, oh, this is what all the work has come to. Marrying off two of the girls and then seeing them start their families and how they're just filled with gratitude for what God did of giving them to our family and so forth. It just becomes this, God deals, I feel, in exponents. He's not additive. If you have one more child, it's not like 1 + 1 = I have two kids. No, you have two universes. You have two like new creations that haven't existed, and I've been blessed with 10. And so it's kind of like, someone in the real estate space talks about 10xing your life. And I think I've 10xed my life in ways that's certainly more than just addition. It's really a beautiful gift.
Wow. Spoken from
Yeah.
someone whose cup is very full. That's really sweet.
Yes.
So, um, that's really sweet. So, you had mentioned, faith gets us through the failures as something you wanted to talk about. Was that specifically talking about that moment of the demotion, or is there something more to that story?
Well, I think the demotion was a big part of it because it helped me to like anchor my identity in God and not in my job. And that was freeing. It was very freeing because, education is often a very safe career. You know, you don't pay a lot, you don't get paid much at all, but it's, stable. They always need teachers. So some teachers get really comfortable in that position and that small but consistent paycheck. And for me, I had to break free of that. And at a certain point, I was complaining to my brother, what are we doing with this demotion? Am I going to have to talk about bankruptcy? And he just was a good big brother. He's like, Bill, shut up and get your real estate license. Quit your whining, quit the self pity, and go. And that was a big leap of faith to do that. And it really was like, well, God, is this what you want me to do? It seems to resonate. My wife, and I both pray every morning together. And is this something that we feel is a right fit for our family? And we did. And then for 6.5 years, I did both, uh, you know, assistant headmaster teaching and real estate on the side.
Wow.
And eventually, after that 6.5 years, I went full time into the real estate. And that's been 3 years at the end of this month. So it'll be 10 years total in January, 9.5 years now total in real estate, and 3 years full time. And I couldn't be more grateful. It was just an amazing fit.
And would you say like the motivation was, hey, if you're in real estate, that's a great place to earn some money and feed all the bodies, or like what was the draw? Was it simply your brother maybe was in the industry, or you seen other successful real estate agents? What led you down that?
Yeah, it's kind of like how God likes to organize things, and sometimes it's staring me in the face. As I said, I'm kind of slow in the uptake on things. All of my wife's family has been in real estate here in the Phoenix area since the 1950s,
Wow.
and she's, her family's quite the clan, and they still to this day after 70 some years are still very much involved in the real estate industry in some way, shape, or form. You can't throw a rock in the business without hitting someone in Phoenix, someone in her family. Whether it's HOA management, I mean, real estate agents or commercial brokers or interior designers and just again, every facet of the business is part of it. So it was like, oh yeah. And then it fits me personally, right? If as a coming back to that point about, I'm at the core beloved son of God. Well, he's given me certain innate talents and gifts. And does working in the real estate allow me to serve my family while utilizing the gifts he's given me?
Mm.
And generally, yes, I'm an outgoing person. I'm, as the Irishman, I like to say I've negotiated with middle school terrorists and kindergarten moms. So I've handled a lot of the volatile sectors of society.
Yeah.
And to be able to then use that experience and talent that's God's talent He's given me to be able to serve others and in this real estate space, and it does well feeding the family. So it was kind of like a triple win
Mm.
in all, and that took a good amount of discerning and failure in there, and like mistakes, not getting deals, etc. But you start getting some track record and working by referral, and then you're known, and it just starts gaining some momentum. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you have a unique experience having been a part of the education, sector for a long time, and then, obviously leading your family and now leading a business. And I think the greatest lessons often come from the hard trials that we go through, where your own strength runs out, and you actually have to lean on God. Could you walk us through, a moment when you had to rely on the greatest one of all, and not on yourself?
yeah, like one of our sons ended up getting into drugs about 10 years ago. No, let's see, 12 years ago. And he was a middle schooler. And that was just talk about a punch in the gut. You'd be the leader provider, well known in the community, teacher, etc. And your son, feels a disconnect. And so this sort of, and then he pursues this. And it was really 10 years. So 10 years of getting him into programs and trying to help. And, there's like certain points it becomes like, wow, bummer, man. And praying to God the whole time. And then, that for me, it was one of the temptations, of course, is how I failed as a father in that, right? And
Yeah.
what did I do wrong? And sort of the temptations to live in that past and so forth. And it has to be a temptation. And so I have to let that go every day. And then really turning to God every morning. I mean, I really have to, it has to be a morning thing for me, or else the whole day is askew and my life becomes a wreck because I think I could do everything. And so that struggle with our son, where eventually, I mean, at times we had to kick him out of the house, and he was borderline. At one point, he went so off the rails that he was this close to being out on the street and homeless, because it was like he can't be a home around our kids, and yet he's refusing certain things, and so it was like, talk about taking you out to the edge, where how do I walk in love with him still and like be a model of the merciful father, right, to the prodigal son. And like, I don't know, and at certain points just have to be there.
Yeah.
And relying on God is like sometimes just simply shutting my mouth and just being present, and like just like what you're doing is, you're not making good choices, my boy, and I love you still, and that's not changing. And you're gonna have to have consequences. I can't take away the consequences. Like these are hard consequences,
Yeah.
but um, I'm not going to abandon you in those consequences. I will
Yeah.
still walk with you in
Yeah.
them. And that's probably some of the hardest decade we went through, and the most kind of devastating, where you know pit of your stomach drops out.
Wow.
Man.
What's the end of that story? Is there an end yet, or is it still in progress?
I would say it's far better. Oh my gosh, like
Hmm.
such a blessing. He is, sobered up. He voluntarily entered into a program himself, and stayed in there, and he worked it. He came out, he's got a job. He's an auto mechanic now. He
Hmm.
works on classic cars. He loves it. It's something new, and he's doing it in Scottsdale, and he's held down the same job. I want to say it's 3 or 4 years. We have a good relationship.
Hmm.
We hit the gym together regularly, and with his brothers, and this is the other thing about this family and what God has done is like his siblings are a major support to him. Even more than just my wife and I.
Hmm.
Like his brothers pick him up. I walk to the gym and they happen to be there together already. And so like they rely on each other. We talk about, oh, we're like brothers. Well, they are brothers, and it is because of that they are doing that. So it's a very special thing. It's in a much better spot than he has been, and truly so grateful.
I'm Zach Haptonstall, CEO and co-founder of Rise 48 Equity. Our goal is to help you protect and grow your wealth by investing in the large multifamily apartment buildings. We do all the work as far as sourcing these large apartment buildings from the brokers, doing all of the on-site management with our vertically integrated property management company, doing all the renovations with our vertically integrated construction company. We completely rebrand the exteriors. We will renovate the interiors to our full platinum level scope, which increases the value of the asset to get that profit margin for the investor. If you'd like to learn about how you can partner with us on these exciting opportunities, and go to our website and set up a call with our team.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think it's an interesting thing, for a leader to learn how to balance building a business, being a leader at work, but also being a present father at home too. And I think for a lot of leaders, they might be, crushing it at work, but their account at home or even in their community is kind of suffering. How do you balance that leading a business and also, managing your home? How do you structure balance? What does that look like for you?
It's a good question. I mean, it's chaos. I mean, my smart aleck answer is prayer and alcohol, and that's a little both go are very helpful. But in truth, um, the morning, my wife and I made it very clear, and we always encourage that at the heart of our family is our marriage, is
Mm.
our relationship, and so that has to be first things first. Think of Stephen Covey, right? That's that. What is it? The quadrant number two, right? The important but not urgent. So we've just made we've been lucky. Our kids, we don't mind getting up early, and they hate it. So that gives us the morning time together. And so we're up. We go to the gym. The plan normally, and this is of course not always the case, but more than not, we're going to the gym at 4:30 together, just the two of us,
Nice.
and then work out for an hour. We come home, we pray together. We have our coffee, and immerse ourselves in the scripture and what we as Catholics call the liturgy of the hours, which is basically the Psalms,
Hmm.
and then we chat for a few minutes, and then go about the day.
Hmm.
But that holds that time together is without it. Like I don't know how we would do it
Wow.
because with the kids see that they get up and we're praying together, and their rule is quiet. They're allowed to be in the room. They're welcome, but it's quiet. They don't interrupt that because
Mm.
that matters the most. So for us, the morning time is clutch.
Yeah.
And as far as the kids go and being present to the kids, I will say it's harder. It's if we just had two children, it's I think a little bit simpler to be able to spend more time with one on one with kids. For us, it's not as easy to get to one on one with them. We make it a point, absolutely, to do it at least on their birthday,
Yeah.
where we take the child out to that, and then we do family dinners on a regular basis, and we always start with we go big, as we call it. Begin in gratitude. So everyone goes around the table, including the little one. The little one, Danny, is 6 years old, and yeah, kid is just too cute, and he can get away with murder. But even him, what is it you're grateful for? And so, and then at the end of that, well, one sharing, the others are to be listening. And so we want to create a dynamic where we're listening to each other, And then after they've said it, and we've all said it, we go around and we see who remembers which was whose point of gratitude.
Pretty cool.
And so those kinds of things. And then Sundays, we do family brunches. You know, call them brunch. They start at like 2 p.m. and they go till sometimes 9 o'clock at night. So well, I have a friend, an Australian friend, he's like, Mike, you can't call it brunch. You go till 9 p.m. But it's, I don't know, we call it the brunch, and it's every Sunday. And that's just nothing else matters. It's family time. It's open invitation for the older kids as they can, and the younger ones are there. And we set it aside. You know, Sunday is the Lord's Day, so go to mass, worshiping God, putting Him first, and then family right after. And that's what Sunday's for. So those kind of form the anchor points of how we do it in the Haley household.
That's awesome. Yeah, cool. I mean, you say your greatest sale was convincing Maureen to say "I do." Now you're 20 years later, 10 kids later,
26 years later.
26 years later. What has marriage taught you about leadership that no business ever could?
Whew, that's a really good question. Wow. So yeah, leading the family, because convinced that my role is the head of the house, my wife is the heart, and which is more important, your brain or your heart? You can't, right? You can't decide. And so to like name the greatness of what my wife does, both to her and my children, is essential. I think, like people want to say that, oh, the truth is in the negative. Oftentimes, there's people who like, oh, the truth is always do this. Well, if you're actually saying you always do it, it's not actually true, because true is more accurate. You do this, yeah, but is it always? No, that's emotion. And to get into the truth of leadership is to say, yeah, no, actually, I see you doing this, and naming those positive things, those good things that are acts of love, even when they're hard, and like saying, I see that, and noticing it and naming it becomes a very powerful tool in leadership, because it's a distinction between, a lot of people are very sensitive, especially I think with AI, because AI is really good at giving us flattery. Oh, that's such a brilliant, and it just gives you this empty praise, even if it's undeserved, if it's not true. And so even before AI, though, there's this sort of skepticism of naming what is true, good, and beautiful, as an attempt to manipulate or control, and instead to just name it as, I see this, and that is true and beautiful, and it's wonderful. You really are, and to help confirming who they are as a human being, more than a human doing. I notice who you are in your own uniqueness that God has created. You are a beloved son and daughter of God, and I see you doing this in your own personality, your strengths and talents, and that's it. There's not a demand. There's not a control. It's simply, here's what I see, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
Boom. And then there's no ulterior motive there in naming it. People walk away feeling loved.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just being loved. They feel the love. They know the love is based in truth, not hyperbole. And if something's wrong and negative, like, it has to be encapsulated in the fullness of the truth. And naming like someone does something bad and makes a mistake or a bad choice that even they know, it's like, look, first I want to understand what you were thinking, if you were thinking, and if you were thinking, like, I still love you, and I've made mistakes too. And what I'm saying is not that I messed up or that you are a failure. This choice was a bad choice, and all right, don't do it again.
Yeah.
Like, don't repeat it. But this doesn't make you a failure in who you are.
That's right.
So I think in business, it's like we often get measured by our results, rather than our actions. And to affirm what people do in their choices, even if it doesn't miss the mark, well, that helps them keep the sorry, I'm getting into teacher mode here, right? For Aristotle, virtue is like shooting a bow and arrow and hitting the mark.
Hmm.
And so if you think of the target for an arrow, right? Okay, they missed the target, but at least they were shooting. Maybe they went. It's an order of calibration. You don't want to get them to say, "Well, forget it."
Right.
That's the loss. And if we're only interested in the results, well, that's a great way to kill the motivation to do any of it.
Yeah.
And so naming praising the choices and honoring them. Anyway, sorry, I'm waxing on. I told you I could go long.
No, it's great. It's a good story. I mean, at our dinner table, we usually do high, low, and buffalo, just a random thing.
Okay.
But I think a lot of people like connecting as a family unit is actually really, really important. And the fact that your kids love working out together and they are best friends, that is a culture that you create in your home. And that's often led by the mom and dad. And it sounds like your 4:30 workout and your prayer time and your scriptures, like it's the protected time. Even your Sunday brunch, which is more of like a whole fiesta, which sounds pretty
Right.
awesome. I'd love to be
Yeah.
invited over to the Haley house.
Mimosas will be there. Come on over.
But I think there's something about like the culture you create in your home really stems from how the parents lead, and I think that's important that that culture is one where people do feel safe, and there's a culture of grace, and there's a culture of depending not on purely your output or your what you can produce, which is
Right.
important to work hard, but who you are as a person and your character often matters more than the production. So I just want to talk about legacy for a little bit.
About what? It
Le-
broke up a little bit.
legacy,
Legacy. Yeah,
and what do
yeah,
you want your children to say about you someday?
yeah.
Not what you've accomplished, but who were you? What would you want your children to say about you?
Wow, it's a big question. So another maybe personal story. I guess I'll kind of. I don't hope I'm not dodging the question by going this way, but if I am, call me out on it. My father just died in January, so just a
Mm,
few months ago. Almost 6 months ago. Feels crazy to think on that. And so I had the privilege of giving a eulogy for him
mm,
and thinking through his legacy. So uh, it and he was a mailman. He was and not out on he was a clerk, so behind the scenes, the guys who actually go postal, like he was in that role, and he did it for 30 some years, and he never went postal. Um, and he would say he'd have these quips, this like just turn of a phrase. He had one of the most intelligent mailmen I knew, right? And he would have this saying, like he said, "If I die and you boys keep the faith and carry it on,
mm.
I'll have been a successful mailman."
Wow.
And that's a legacy that is meant for eternity,
Mm,
not a legacy that's for this life. Like, he was one of these guys that when you meet him, he just loved you as a human being and knew you and very well and remember you and just hyper personal. Is why was he that way? It was to give the life beyond this life, to give a foretaste of what God has in store for those who love Him, and that uh, that I think is the legacy He has left me. Is like that. Nothing else. At the end of the day, none of this. At the end, none of this really ultimately has the impact or the stability, as it were, that eternal life has.
mm.
And not that it's completely unimportant, no, but to put it in perspective of importance, that's what matters most. And so I think he in his heart really put his love of God and neighbor first and foremost, and I would hope that I do the same.
Yeah, amazing. What a legacy. Just to leave that vision for you and your siblings that success isn't, personal financial statement or worldly success, but trusting in the one who can make all the wrong right again, right? That's amazing.
Right. I mean, you think about how the what would the financial statement of our Lord have been, right? He died impoverished monetarily, and gave us the greatest gift of all, the eternal life through his death and resurrection. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Let's switch gears here for like the last couple of questions. Thinking about just kingdom vision. What does it look like, for that faith driven leader to be fully alive in the marketplace?
Mm.
What do you think would change if there were more Christian leaders, Christian business owners who really took their callings seriously? How do you think the world would change?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, I think just to have, I mean, just on a human level, the fact of someone who says they're going to do something and they do it, to like that their word matters, like your yes be yes and your no be no. That alone is like, what would that do for business?
Yeah,
And how many times is that the heart of what's wrong with the business?
that's right. Yeah,
Is like someone didn't do what they said they were going to do. Um, but if someone said, and look, we all kind of do it at the same time, but the Christian's one who owns that at the best, is we say, yeah, I said this, and without making excuses, here's where I was unable to make it happen, right? And no excuses. I messed up. I dropped the ball. Something like that. It's not going to happen again, or whatever. Um, so I just, boy, wouldn't that be amazing if every person said, what, and you could just lock it in. But on the contrast, like, how great is it when you find someone like that?
Hmm.
That's who you get to surround yourself by and work with. And personally, I've been blessed to be able to meet a lot of people like that.
Hmm.
In the schools. Schools are an interesting place. And when I was in admin, people think a lot of teachers and handling students, which is incredible gift to have people entrust their greatest gift ever to you, right? The student. But then as admin, and I was blessed to do both for many years. As admin, you're leading teachers who are at their own working really, really hard and so forth. Then you handle the students the teachers can't handle at times. And then you're handling parents. And so it's this trifecta of committed people, hopefully, at their best. They're all committed. And they all have, and so trying to stay within that realm. But you meet parents, and the schools we were at was this charter school, really neat charter school um, network of charter schools, in fact, in Arizona, called Great Hearts.
Hmm.
And it's a classical education, and it's like a private school in a public school setting. So there's no tuition, but they're studying Latin and wearing uniforms and reading the great books.
Cool.
And it's non-sectarian, and there's no tuition, so it's pretty cool. And they do special ed. So it was a fantastic, amazing dynamic. But you saw parents committed,
Yeah.
and committed to their education. And so then when that happens, there's a number of people in there that you get to meet who they say something and they do it, and they want you to teach their kids to be boys and girls and men and women who say and do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
And so it's been a huge gift that I've received in the Phoenix area to be able to meet a lot of those people.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of a fun question, but if you could build one thing that had nothing to do with revenue, but it was a kind of a kingdom-focused initiative, a movement, a ministry, what would it be?
Build a mission-focused ministry that had nothing to do with, what was the first part?
Had nothing to do with revenue or profit.
Revenue or profit.
Like a pet project, something that you've been maybe thinking about, but maybe the dynamics of just family life and managing all that has made it such that you couldn't. But if you could, what would you build?
I could. I mean, probably a trade school.
Huh.
The trades need people, men and women of character, and there's the trades are often filled with people who have addictions. They're not isolated that. Of course, every place has it, but it's definitely rampant in the trades. And to have a place where it's teaching the trades with character, and because it's interesting, my sons, many of them, no interest in college. They want to work with their hands, and I think it's fantastic. I'm not going to criticize them for it. I'd love to give them a schooling opportunity to learn the trade well, in a context where they realize how much character matters, even at whatever business you're in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, maybe this is a closing question for you. If someone's listening right now who was kind of in your same shoes, they had to go through a big decision, they had to trust God, they had to, make a big change, but they were uncertain. They underestimated what God might do. Kind of they're holding back. What would you want them to hear? How could you encourage them?
Yeah. So, um, God is never outdone in goodness. It cannot be, actually. That's kind of in his nature of who he is. So you're never going to be able to outplay him or last the goodness he has. And this time of I'll call it suffering, the time of like discernment, when it's uncomfortable, when you're unsure, when you're most nervous, when the fear is there, and it's the kind of the pressure time. Like, in some ways, that is his goodness still there in that crucible. That he reaches into that crucible, and there's some good that's coming out of that. God is goodness itself, and you can't get away from that. So what we view as hard, our eyes are far more limited than his eternal view and perspective is far beyond anything you're capable or I'm capable of even imagining, right? You say that no eye has seen nor ear heard, nor has entered into the heart of man the good things that God has prepared for those who love him. So in those times of confusion, what can you do? Well, love him. Make the time for him. Spend the time in conversation with him. Listen, immerse yourself in his word that he has written to you. And be patient, which I hate to use it. I don't like it, but patient means to suffer. It means suffering. And just endure. And that sometimes is the biggest victory. And then clarity. Sometimes clarity will come and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But don't give up. Despair is the tool of the devil. And find I would say, a community of like-minded, like small community. Find some people to be accountable to, that you can trust and will walk with you in that, and that you can bounce ideas off of to find your thing, because you'll make it. May not be financially successful, but you will make it through love of God into something that matters more.
Yeah. Amen. Awesome. It's been great. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom, Bill. If people listening want to get in touch with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but I rarely check those, but I am on LinkedIn.
Great.
And you can email me and look at cambridgeproperties.com or my personal website, azhaley.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and for listening to the On the Rise podcast. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said on this show should be considered financial advice. Before making any financial decisions, please consult with a professional. This show is copyrighted by the On the Rise podcast. Written permissions must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.